So now that we got those items out of the way, let's get to the crux of the matter here. And what we're seeing from a DoD perspective is just the audits are becoming more frequent and more intense in regards to understanding where their property is. And what's behind this is you've got a $900 million initiative that the DoD is undertaking, where in the spring about 300 and no, it's about 1,200, but they spent about 367 million on the auditing of their property. And in that audit, they expect to find about a number of issues, but they did the smart thing and they planned to put money against that to fix some of the problems that they see that they're going to come up against. In one case, and to understand how important it is, you've had the Army had probably about 39 Black Hawk helicopters that were in inventory, but they were in inventory at the base level, and it couldn't be seen or wasn't visible across the whole Army. And by doing that, you had 39 Black Hawk helicopters that weren't available to another division if they needed it. That particular base knew they had it. So they're really trying to open everything up so they can see in their inventory across the different branches, so they can get better resource and asset utilization and be able to have readiness in case of a conflict. So there's things that you need to ask yourself when you see what's going on in regards to the money that's being spent on the audits and some of the chatter that's coming out. But first and foremost, you need to be assured, or at least in your mind, know that you are complying to your clauses. And the most important clause for most of the property managers is FAR 52-245-1. And within that, there are 10 data elements. Those 10 data elements are part number, quantity received, as well as unit of measure, as well as UID, meaning it has to be UID and in the system, an accountable property contract or accountable contract number, as well as location, disposition, a posting reference date when received, and when it was placed into service. So when the auditors go out, they take a look at these different items, and that's what they audit on. So going down the line, you really need to take a look at this particular slide, and again, you guys will have access to it. But you need to make sure, based on what I just laid out in regards to the 10 data elements, which lines up to this slide, is basically, are our assets marked and are they in the registry? Can I perform a book-to-floor inventory with speed and accuracy? And the reason that item is there is because, number 4, assets often move. And when they move, you could have done an inventory in September, but your audit's in February, or your audit's in December, and someone could have moved that item, and it could be part of the inventory that the DCMA is going to concentrate on. And then, can you locate missing items within a reasonable time? If any of you have been in an audit, that's part of the key aspects of what you're judged on. They'll take 10 items and they'll say, okay, I see that it's in your system. I see that there's a location and an inventory date. Now show me the item. And if you can't do that in a reasonable amount of time, then that could have an effect on your either passing or failing an audit. Most importantly also is data accuracy. If that's a big piece of the DoD's initiative. What they want to get out of this audit initiative is better data, accurate data, so they can make better decisions. And if you look at some of the quotes from David L. Norquist, the comptroller, he says it flat out. We're looking at when we have audits are going to produce better data, more accurate data, so we can make better decisions. What he's also looking at is being able to find places where they can automate manual processes, where they can be more efficient, and where they can be accountable to the American people around the money that they're spending for the defense of this country. So there are a lot of salient points. And last but not least, and this kind of ties into what Mr. Norquist was saying about audits, you got to be able to fully utilize technology. And in our case, for the property manager, auto ID technology is one of your best friends in terms of being able to understand what you have, where it is, what the condition is, and who's the ownership. And automating that process is also a good thing as well.